to the Verona Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. If everyone would please join me in standing for a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have a proposed agenda and a consent agenda, and adoption of the consent agenda upon a motion and a second, plus an affirmative vote by members present, approves each and every item so designated. However, prior to the adoption of the consent agenda, any board member may remove any item from the consent agenda. This item will then come up for discussion as part of the regular agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite routine matters so that the board may have more time to deal with substantive matters. So we have in front of you a proposed agenda, but if I could, just as a typo, on page 4, that is under C3. The dates on that, rather than January 31st of 2022 to January 30th of 2023, that should be February 9th of 22 through February 8th of 2023. Okay? So with that correction, if I could get a motion to bring that agenda to the floor. Ms. Powell-Fortna and Mr. Hawk. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out of the consent agenda? We're all good? Okay. If not, all those in favor of approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, great. So the next thing on the agenda is to hear from the public. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Concerns and comments during this session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda for this meeting. Audience members seeking a response should complete a board correspondence sheet and return it to our district clerk, Christine Slagle. Audience members are asked to adhere to social distancing regulations when addressing the Board of Education. So is there anyone who would like to address the board tonight? Yes.
Andy Ludwig, 30 Ryan Place. I was working in my office and I received an email from a parent at my school in Dunkirk who lives here, sends her child to NCCS. And the email said, "You need to check tonight's board meeting agenda. You're really going to like it." And so I got excited. I went to the agenda. I thought maybe you're going to dispose of some wrestling mats or some other equipment that maybe we could use in my school, but I didn't see anything like that on the agenda. What I did see was item 6A1. Approve a contract between the University of Rochester and Verona Central School District for administrative coaching services for $25,600. I believe I asked questions about this just about a year ago at this time, and you spent about the same amount on administrative coaching. What I would like to hear tonight is a discussion among the board members on what exactly is administrative coaching, what is going on, what are you spending the taxpayers' dollars on. Maybe you could touch on whether or not the administrators got a raise over that period of time, so they need coaching, but you're going to give them a raise. And if the coaching last year was successful, why is there more coaching needed? Or are the taxpayers going to pay for this for another year or another year or another year? And if you think about it, $25,000 last year, $25,000 this year, $50,000, maybe better spent compensating our hard-earned and underpaid CSEA employees. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else would like to address students in back don't have any complaints about homework? You don't want more? Nothing like that, huh? Okay. Okay, so with that, we have a special presentation from our music department and Mr. Bennett.
Hello, good evening. This is most of the FHS Jazz Ensemble, directed by Mr. Andrew Bennett over here. Tonight we're going to be performing Kick It to the Curb by Dean Sorensen, and we have a couple solos by Fred Gullo and Rory Dillon. So, hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to come all the way over here. So my name is Andy Bennett. Can we have one more round of applause for our student performers tonight? Now they're going to be exiting as quietly as they can to go back to musical rehearsal or their homework or whatever fun adventures await them tonight. But I'm so grateful they were able to join us tonight. Perfect. So, again, my name is Andy Bennett. I am the Music Department Instructional Leader. And welcome to our annual review of 2021. So, this has been a tradition we've been doing for 6 years. This is a new tradition. Miss Slagle and I, we're getting better at dancing together. It's very exciting. But we've been doing this for 6 years. Our district has been a best community for music education in the country for the past 9. And through this process, we've collected a tremendous amount of data. And through a conversation with previous administrators, we had this great idea to share this data with the board and community so we could update them on the fantastic things our students and parents and community members are accomplishing every year. So I always like to say this report is available to the public. It will be on our website tomorrow morning. It'll be at that link. It'll be on our Twitter, and we have a beautiful, colorful QR code this year too. We're trying to make it as accessible to the public as possible because it's great news, and it's about time we had some great news to share, I think. So I'd like to thank our high school jazz ensemble for performing tonight, and my student teacher, Ms. Ciciati, has been very helpful, but had a very artistic idea with the black and white photo of the jazz group this morning. It has an eye for it that I don't, so I really appreciate it, Cassie. So I always start with our mission statement. The mission statement of the Fredonia Music Department is to foster an appreciation, understanding, and talent for music in our students in grades K through 12 to continue with music throughout their lives as an avocation, a vocation of interest, and to support music in their adult lives. Our program is made up of 2 main components. Curricular music, that's all the academic music classes that happen during the day. Our ensembles, our classroom music classes, our college level classes. And then our extracurricular music, that's all the things that happen after school, our musicals, jazz ensembles, honor society, select choruses, and so much more. Currently, we have a district population, at least in the fall, of 1,369 students. Of those 1,369 students, 1,105 of them were enrolled in a music class this year. That equates to 81% of FCSD's student population, K through 12, took at least one music class. So, to go deeper into those numbers, 779 of those students participated in a curricular ensemble. That's 67% of all the students in grades 2 through 12 who were eligible, and 320 students participated in our extracurricular music activities in grades 5 through 12. So, despite recent events, the percentage of students enrolled in music classes continued to grow. 81%, I still remember last year, I was saying how excited it would be when we finally broke 80. I wasn't sure we'd do it, and here we are. We made it. So we're very excited about breaking that number. So to put that into contrast with recent events, a recent nationwide study of school music programs by Be Part of the Music showed that 75% of school music programs had decreased ensemble enrollments since 2019, and 50% had decreased their enrollments since 2020 as a portion of their school populations. We are lucky to say that our district did not experience this trend. As a percentage of our student body, ensemble enrollments are up 2.5% from 2019 and 1.7% from 2020. The percentage of the student's body taking music courses, 81%, and the percentage enrolled in an ensemble, 67%, are the highest they have been since we started taking detailed records of enrollments 23 years ago. Now, my dad is a math teacher, taught for 37 years, but I'm aware that everyone doesn't love percent signs as much as Mr. Paschke and I do. So I'd like to put that into more concrete details. So what does this look like in real life? We have more students in band and orchestra currently than we've had since 2002, when there were 527 more students enrolled in this district. Our beginning band is the largest since 2001 and the second largest in our records over the past 2 decades. Our orchestra enrollment is at its highest in our records. Our overall band enrollment is at its highest since 2005. And our 6th through 8th grade ensembles are pushing the maximum room allowances and may need to be restructured next year to make sure we can fit everybody and have a wonderful, safe time. We like to do a brief summary of program strengths and highlights, especially for our affiliates and our affiliations with NISMA and CCMTA, our state and county level music teacher associations. We were recognized as a NAM Best Community for Music Education for the 9th year in a row. We're hoping this will be year 10. We should find out about that in April or May. We had 53 solos performed by Fredonia students in 2021, and I'd like to highlight that number because there were fewer festivals than we've ever seen. In fact, we're used to being able to send our festivals to our students to 3 or 4 solo festivals every year, and we only had one opportunity. So we're very grateful for 53, and that number is going to be, it's actually already far larger for this year, and we've only had one. I'd like to highlight, though, that this includes one all-state student, Abigail Roth, who we're very happy to honor and celebrate with a clap-out. She's featured earlier in this presentation. And 7 area all-state musicians / alternates, a fantastic showing for a school our size. Our symphonic band is featuring a brand new work with a solo trombonist from the Buffalo Philharmonic. We've been working on that for quite some time now, if you want to hear it. All band concerts on Tuesday. He's fantastic and a wonderful educator. We commissioned 3 new works written collaboratively by our students and SUNY Fredonia composition professors during the lockdowns. We continue to have a rigorous college credit sequence in music worth 9 credits. And we're very excited that with Dr. Wright's help and Mr. Paschke's help and many others, we were selected as a New York State Education Department Music and Arts Pathway Pilot District, which will give us a leading edge on some of the new ways our students will be able to graduate from high school with music and arts credits. And we continue to strengthen our partnerships with SUNY Fredonia. We're at a point now where if you want to be a music teacher, you have to come observe our teachers. We're very grateful for our friends at SUNY Fredonia, and we always are looking for new ways to expand that connection. So music during the time of COVID. While we're very, very grateful to be in a situation now where we're making music together, we want to honor and recognize that it has been a process getting to this point. So we did want to feature, virtual Zoom rehearsals. We wanted to feature some of our collaborations with SUNY Fredonia, and of course, how happy some of our musicians are to be back in person with Mr. Fred Gullo having decorated his trumpet for our winter concert. I think he might have a career as an interior decorator. We'll have to wait and see. So, we have had to steal Dr. Ziliak's quote, to adjust and adapt our instruction frequently due to the pandemic. But our students, parents, community, and staff have continued to rise to the challenge. We continue to make lemonade out of a plentiful supply of lemons. We're operating under the current guidelines, which are 3 feet of social distancing between student musicians with appropriate PPE. A big change for our audiences where we moved to assigned seating for middle and high school concerts to social distance our audiences. We used a system known as Ticket Lead, which we obtained at no cost to the district or our families. 0 means 0. And we continue to work with SUNY Fredonia in special ways. For example, we've been working with SUNY Fredonia alumni and sound recording technology faculty, and actually Fredonia High School alumni, to develop a streaming plan for our concerts, and we look forward to implementing that as the funds become available. Dr. Ziliak has been very helpful with that, and we're excited about that for the future. We believe here at the Fredonia Music Program that it's not just about achieving a certain level of performance skill, it's about serving our community. At the end of the day, we do not exist in a vacuum. It's important we teach our students to be good citizens of the world around them. So, to highlight our character education program, I want to point out our peer mentorship program. It began years ago with Mrs. Terry and our fantastic string buddies, and it's now expanded to include band and vocal buddies. This has been a fantastic way to offer somewhat like a big brother, big sister relationship to some of our students. It's also been helpful in bridging learning loss with some of our students who went to a district last year who maybe did not offer instrumental education. For example, we have about 8 6th graders in band, I'm thinking of, who are starting as beginners, but they're in an ensemble with 6th through 8th graders. We don't have another section to put them in, so we've been lucky enough to pair them each with specially trained student mentors to help bridge those gaps, and we're very excited about the progress they're making. I also want to mention our jazz student mentors. A lot of our high school jazz students work with our middle school students, providing more connections and involvement in ways they can serve each other in their community. I'd be remiss to not mention our Triumph National Honor Music Society, which was started by Mrs. Harton, is now chaired by Mrs. Terreri. They inducted 13 new students this year. And our Triumph members, we have a 30-member chapter. They continue to give back to our community in new and exciting ways. This year, students hosted a Kiss the Cast fundraiser that was very popular and helped support and recognize the efforts of students in the middle school musical Shrek Jr. They also partnered with our National Art Honor Society to do a Valentine's Day fundraiser, which I believe is still going on, Mrs. Terry?
Yeah.
How much are the cards?
$1.
$1. What a value. I mean, really, you can't get more for $1 than that at this day. But that's a wonderful way that they're raising money for charitable organizations in our community. Our chapter continues to meet monthly and aims to help to support our community throughout music service. We're also trying to find ways to return to the community in as safe a way as possible. So one example is we were able to have some of our elementary select chorus students perform at the Miracle on Main Street. Thank you, Mrs. Harton. We had our high school jazz ensemble members perform at the first annual Fredonia Jazz Festival. That was a wonderful day where they got a chance to make some connections with other jazz musicians as well. And our symphonic band members performed at the Village of Fredonia's Halloween Trunk and Treat. This was their first trunk or treat. If you get a chance to peruse the presentation, some of the costumes are pretty impressive. We had a sousaphone player dressed up like Dwight from The Office. I mean, there's really some impressive creativity went into these students' costumes. And we're continuing to look for ways to get back in the community even more as COVID hopefully continues to move on. So I always like to highlight our school instrument usage program. Our program to develop and maintain an inventory of school instruments for families receiving free and reduced lunch continues to be very popular. The number of students benefiting from school instruments has increased every year since we began the program. So in the first year, in 2016-2017, there were 20 students. The next year, 38, 47, 58, 63, and currently this year we have 77 families who are participating in our program due to the foresight of this program and the board's support of its funding. Our current instrument purchase plans have been vital to ensuring equal access to families to music education who are unable to financially support securing their own instruments while beginning to serve our replacement program. One thing we keep working on is almost all of the funds we get every year are going to buy these instruments. We do continue to predict, as we imagined when we first designed the program, that by the time we get to an 8-9 year cycle and a student who began in this program will graduate, that more of those funds can be used for their original purpose before this program to actually replace aging inventory. A consequence of this has been storage and ensemble space has become a noticeable issue. We went from a world where just 5-6 years ago we had 20 students using school instruments, now 77. Those instruments need somewhere to go. So as we continue to look for future building projects, I think that's an issue we should be looking at. You know, the programs are getting bigger. Where do students go? Where do their instruments go? This kind of forward thinking, like the forward thinking we used to design this program, will be helpful as we continue to adjust to our growing populations. Looking ahead, we continue to review guidance to ensure we are making music in as safe an environment as possible. We are monitoring enrollments to anticipate any staffing, scheduling, and facility changes that might be necessitated. And we look forward to continuing discussion and reflection upon future expansions and growths and what we're able to offer our students at all grade levels. So our curricular and extracurricular programs continue to impress as we adapt to the pandemic. Continued support of our instrument replacement plan is vital to meeting present and future student needs. Student enrollment, achievement, and community support continue to impress and inspire, and I can't say it enough. We're very proud of our students. There's a word that we used, Dr. Zilix and I, called momentum. And the momentum that they have been building to keep this program alive and strong, and parents to support it through the pandemic is incredible. I know I speak for my entire staff of colleagues how grateful we are to work with these families and this community. We have the best jobs in the world. I wouldn't be a good music teacher if I wasn't plugging our upcoming gigs though. So, the all band concert is next Tuesday at 7. All string is next Thursday at 7. And then a week after that, feel free to join us for our all choral concert. These all concerts are some of my favorites because you get to see students from their very first notes up to their last few notes before they graduate. Mr. Wendell would be upset if I didn't mention that we're also putting on a musical. The high school musical is All Shook Up. If you love Elvis, you will absolutely love this show. And if you just like high school musicals, you'll have a good time too. All those shows are at 7:30 p.m., March 25th, 26th, and April 1st and 2nd. You can always check our website for more information and up-to-date department calendar events. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at FCSD_music. There's a great post today about our moving up rehearsals. where we welcomed the class of 2026 to the high school orchestra and band to get them acclimated to what awaits them in high school. And I thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? I don't have any questions, but Mr. Bennett, you really make it flow. It's like, you know, you've got all the pieces and parts put together in all in proper order, and I just have to say kudos because what a great job.
That's very nice, Mr. Hawk, but again, I couldn't do it without our wonderful staff, but definitely the students. We'd just be
Absolutely,
waving
everyone
batons at
else
nothing.
included.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk.
So I think that I've asked this question before, and
I'm excited, Mr. Aldridge.
but you know, I realize that maybe this is a more difficult question to answer than what I thought, and that's what's the relationship between students in the music program and academic success? But I guess I realized that with so many students, you know, over 80% of our students in the music program, it's really hard to correlate that statistically.
That's a great question, Mr. Aldridge. So definitely research has shown that the more involved students can be in music education throughout their career as a student, the better they tend to do academically. What I always like to say with that is sometimes there's a perception that only students who are academically gifted are successful in the music program. What I'm grateful about in this community is that we have found ways to eliminate as many barriers as possible for student participation because we see that value. The instrument replacement program is just one part of it. So many things that can benefit a music program are actually structural. Working to schedule AIS classes, not during middle school ensembles, has been an incredible boon to those students so they can participate in both their very important academic intervention services work, but also their ensembles. Working to make sure our students who take vocational educational activities in the high school are also able to participate in music. All of those have had benefits. If you're talking about actual data, I can definitely get back to you. Certainly the latest blue card list that was released in the high school, there's only one student in band or orchestra who's on that list. And that's talking about 120 students between those two groups. So we definitely believe that the more students we're able to impact, the more we're able to support each other. But at the end of the day, academics is very much a collaborative activity. We have a staff that works together not just in the music department, but in all areas. And the more we can continue to connect with families and work together to support the whole child, the better I think they'll do. That might be another, was that similar to the answer I gave you last time?
No, that's...
I try to be consistent.
But I realize how important that is.
Well,
you know, just the connections there to keep it up. So, thank you.
Well, thank you.
I didn't have a question either, but I did want to really acknowledge and thank you for all that the entire music department does, because as a community we really benefit from that, not only our students but the entire community. And I know I was concerned about what COVID and not being able to meet in person would do to music participation, so this just is a testament to how strong our department is, that we're not experiencing what other schools are. So thank you, and great job, and I'm looking forward to every single one of those events. I will be there.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
All right, thank you very much. I have to go to musical, but if you have other questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you for everything you did.
Okay, so we have minutes from our last meeting to approve. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Khan, and a second.
I'll second that.
Mr. Marshall. Any questions, corrections? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. We have a contract with an outside agency with the University of Rochester. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So second.
Ms. Paul Fortnum and Ms. Hahn. Any questions on that?
I wanted to share a couple of comments. Mr. Ludwig, I appreciate you being here tonight, and I appreciate you raising a couple of questions. So each Friday or thereabouts, I typically communicate with the Board of Education. This is what I shared with them about this process. It was also a topic of a discussion at our board agenda meeting this past Friday. So I wanted to give a little bit more background information. So what I officially shared was the process of this administrative coaching has been helpful to all administrators throughout the district, and also to myself and Dr. Wright, who participate as well. The coaching presents an opportunity to identify challenges that are specific to each of our positions, brainstorm possible solutions, better understand the implications of those solutions, and then make the best decisions possible moving forward. The coaches that we have been assigned through the University of Rochester bring years of admin experience to the table and can offer a neutral third-party perspective without getting bogged down in the minutia of a particular scenario. The coaching is also aidable through BOCES at our usual rate, so in the low 70%. And really, the word is coaching, but I think it's probably a combination of coaching, of mentorship, and also engaging our admin team in professional and reflective dialogue around a number of things. And I think at the heart of this is recognize the importance of professional development across the board. And although that's been more challenging over the last couple of years with some agencies not offering the same amount of training or PD that they have in the past, let's say BOCES, for example, with some of the limitations around the pandemic and whatnot, we've tried to push through as much as possible in the spirit of really continuous improvement, continuous learning, and really ongoing development as not only people, but also as professionals and administrators. I could see questions about the year-to-year ebb and flow of this kind of professional development. And I think it would be more in question if our profession was static. So if there was no change, and we got trained, and then we performed the same job year after year after year, and the dynamics were always the same. I think one of the things we've especially learned over the last couple of years is that the one constant in the profession is change. So we never want to become complacent. We want to never feel as if we fully arrived. We always want to feel like we can take a next step, that we can improve, that we can better ourselves. And this is one of the ways that we can offer a venue and a vehicle to make that happen for our team. You know, $25,000, I could see somebody questioning that, and although yes, we do need to pay that up front, again, it is BOCES aidable, so we pay around $8,000 ultimately each year for 10 months of coaching or mentoring or engaging in professional dialogue for the 10 members of our team. So from a bigger picture perspective, we feel that that's pretty good bang for our buck at the end of the day. And, you know, I think those would be some of the things I would highlight, spur of the moment, kind of off the cuff here about the coaching model. Dr. Wright, anything that you would add about coaching or about what's been happening in the district or some of the value that you feel this brings to the table?
Certainly, thank you. I think that coaching, you know, like anything else, is meant to do that, to take what's here now, to have somebody look at it from all angles, not unlike someone who's like a swing coach in golf. They look at it from different angles, videotape it, show it back to yourself so you can see where that, you know, the different areas of improvement can be. I know for me personally, the coaching, you know, having been new to the district, new to the area, new to all the different components of this new creative position, has certainly been helpful, you know, beyond measure in many of the different legal aspects, being able to call. It isn't just somebody comes and shows up and coaches, they're there for you anytime. So I have a question, I have a concern, I have something, I know I can reach out to them, and they can reach out if they don't have an immediate answer. So it's just an excellent, you know, safety net, support net, ability to talk through things, and certainly most of all to reflect and grow, and then I can bring that to the district.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, if you know, we were to say, hey, we don't offer professional development for our teachers, or for our aides, or for our custodians, or anyone else in the district, I'm hoping that most people would not see that as a positive step or something that they wouldn't want to see happen. So I think the same is true for our admin team, and we want to make sure that everybody is supported across the district as much as we possibly can. And again, that's been a little more challenging over the last couple of years. And in moments we struggled, but this is one place that, mostly through the use of Zoom, it's readily available to us at this point. So I don't know if the board has any additional questions, additional comments.
Well,
I'd like to share.
I know that there is an awful lot of professionals at the top of their games, and I think of sports professionals, but also musicians, just off the top of my head, who don't use coaches, who don't have someone giving them additional feedback of what they're doing. And I think that this board, myself in particular, is expecting continuous improvement by all of our staff. And I think that if you're not getting better, you're getting farther behind. So we want that continuous improvement. And I don't have the quote perfect here, but Einstein had said, today's problems cannot be solved with the same level of understanding that got us to this point. So we have to continuously have increased understanding, and part of that is through coaches to address some of the problems that we're facing in our district that come up every single year. So I don't know if anybody else from the board, yes, Sheila.
Well, when I saw this come across for our materials and the description that Dr. Ziliak shared, I was pleased, especially because Dr. Ziliak, Dr. Wright, and Mr. Lauer are all, you know, within 1 year of hire, and I think it's an excellent time for this, for the cohesiveness of our district and the continued excellence of our district. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I would definitely also add agreeing and supporting, but just broadly in general, from a human resources professional development standpoint, coaching is a best practice in every industry for top executives. So I am proud and support that we look at our leaders and say that we want to support them in their professional development and continue to improve our game. And at that price, when you take the aid, it would be a bargain in any other industry.
Definitely. And you know, one thing as you're talking here, I realize I think that sets a very good precedence for everyone in the district to say, you know, even our superintendent and our top administrators are looking for continuous improvement. So it's telling everyone within our district that nobody's in this organization is exempt from continuous improvement. So, okay.
And Mr. Ludwig, again, thank you. I don't know if we would have had this in-depth conversation tonight, so I appreciate you bringing all this forward. Again, as we've talked in the past, I'm always available by cell or by email. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out.
And that's fine. I mean, I'd engage here just for a sec, unless you
Well,
want to wait till the end of the meeting and I'll do it then.
Okay. So all those in favor?
I'll do it at the end of the meeting then.
At the end of the meeting,
That's
yeah.
fine.
I thought that that's what you were planning on doing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next we have, okay, back again.
Back again.
We have a response to our external audit. As presented, the state has got just a little tweak in there. But if I could have a motion, bring that to the floor, and then I'll have Mr. Forbes explain that. Mr. Hawk, and a second. Ms. Powell Fortman. Mr. Forbes?
It's an easy one. As you mentioned, there, in lots of different aspects, stated as being a little more particular and asking for more detailed information than we've seen in recent years. So a couple times we've answered their questions on the audit report where they've asked for the inclusion of specific names of individuals instead of specific titles and specific completion dates for some of the audit comments that occurred. For the fund balance comment, because it's an ongoing process and varies from year to year, I use that as the answer, that it's an ongoing process. We examine it on a yearly basis, so on and so forth. Each time they had previously contacted us, they had not touched that comment. Now they touched the comment and they wanted a date, so I put a date in there and we'll send it back up.
Yeah, just a date.
Just a date.
Just a date, okay. Any questions on that?
I have a question, John, for finding number 3. Auditors noted that the district business office lacks proper computer controls. Can you explain that? Why is that bad or unallowable?
Oh, sure. What it amounts to is we have a relatively small staff for the size of the budget, and so we have multiple people in the office that do have access to different applications, even though that's not their primary function. So if someone's not in to do payroll, for example, I can do it. So there's a way to create, in those situations, a view only unless you needed it, and right now we have access, so they're looking to button that up a little bit.
So it's really about who's got access to what at any given point?
Yep.
Okay.
But the way you control that too is you block, as an example, Kim, who does payroll right now for us, you can block her access to her own record, but she still would have access to the balance of the staff, and that way you've kind of mitigated the chance of something happening there, as an example.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next, we have the addendum item here. We have a bid contract for capital outlay. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Mr. Marshall, and a second. Second. Mr. Hawk. Okay, Mr. Zilios.
Yeah, I'll start off and turn it over to Mr. Forbes. But as you know, the district is allowed to engage in a $100,000 outlay project each year. The benefit of doing so is that we receive aid back on those, that sum, similar to a usual capital project. So again, if we're talking about bang for a buck and being efficient and wise fiscally, this is a great opportunity. This bid is related to the work that will be coming up. And John, if you could just remind people of the process and what played out here yesterday, that'd be great.
Thanks to the board for accepting the addendum tonight. The original bid opening was scheduled for last Thursday, and based upon the weather, we thought it was a good idea to postpone that to Monday. So we did that yesterday. We had anticipated about 5 contractors bidding. We had 3. Quite a range in the pricing, but this company got vetted by Young and Wright, and they're pleased with the pricing and the square foot price. This is actually about $20,000 below what we have assigned for asphalt work at Wheelock School. So we were able to use the per square foot price once we see the snow is gone and once we see what the portion that we expect it to do looks like when we mill it up and so forth, make sure there's no sub-base issues. If it's good, we'll be able to do a little more at Wheelock. Part of the $100,000 capital outlay is if you're doing any outside work, you need to do at least $10,000 of inside work. So this past summer, we had replaced carpeting in the kindergarten wing at Wheelock School, and we used a portion of this to pay for a portion of that. And then we got that done.
So John, I have one question. Is there an accelerator in here due to any cost increases to asphalt product? Because their bid is 50%, just, less than the second, and almost 100% less than the highest.
Yeah, we actually talked about that. We think the high company made a bid based upon the $100,000 capital project, and that's how they kind of tied to that. The second company was a little concerned about some of the sub-base along one side of the bus loop, which this company that is the low bidder was not as concerned. And there is a little bit of an adjustment. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there is an adjustment paragraph, if you will.
So what type of offer do they have incorporated in their contract? Do they have 25,000?
The difference between what we had earmarked and what they bid is about 25,000.
Which is the second bid, which is including that piece.
The second bid would have, at the price they were at, would have used up all the money we had earmarked for the blacktop without any buffer, if you will.
So is this really the lowest, considering all the possible work, or is it just the lowest for the blacktop?
This is the lowest for the work that we had earmarked in the bid itself, the specific.
Which is the blacktop.
Yes, and then because of the difference in price, we're going to be able to use that square foot price to do more potentially.
And so have we put into competitive bid the additional possible work through the 3 different contractors?
The way the language of the bid was, it allows you to use the square footage price off the lowest responsible bidder to do any additional work.
And what are those prices?
I don't remember, I can get it for you. We talked about it, but I just don't remember what the square foot price was.
Okay. And our architects seem to have a handle on that.
Yes, what they did is they took the bids back to their office yesterday, had their structural engineer review it, make sure that the company was responsible, and this is a well-known blacktopping company in the Buffalo area that they've done work with before, so they were comfortable.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of appointment of Nicole Kane to an elementary position. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So
Is that Ms. Hyman? And a second. Ms. Paula Gordon. Mr. Zilios.
Yeah, I am searching for an email here. Dr. Wright, do you have any of the more bio information on Nicole, or do I need to circle back to that?
I'd be happy to, sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So Nicole Nikki Kane, we're very, very excited to have her come on board. I'm sure Mr. Drollinger is probably the most excited to have her come on board. This is a position that, we've been searching for, and we just feel very fortunate we have the right fit for this. Nikki comes to us with the required certifications, obviously, of birth through grade 12, or 2 rather, and then 1 through 6. So we have to have that overlap in order to teach our youngest students. And sometimes when, we have great candidates, they don't have the way they do the certifications can really kind of handcuff us. What I think is a huge benefit to our district is she also has ESL certification, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And as our student population becomes more diversified, it's wonderful to have somebody with the skill set to help students in all classrooms, and to also help teachers. So that's really great with this particular position, because she will be working with all of our students at the elementary school, and therefore all of our teachers. Her experience does come as a related service provider, so she's very used to working with a large group of teachers who all have different styles, meeting their classroom needs, and that's what we found particularly encouraging in our interview process, was her dynamic ideas of how she personally ebbs and flows to work with the teachers. So taking this, it's going to be, it's a special rotation, so just like art, music, library students come once a week. And so she's very excited to work with teachers, work on building in a cohesive, collaborative way for her curriculum to support what they're doing in the classroom. And that ESL education will really help with our students to just broaden, the horizons of all people. So I think it's a really unique skill set that she brings to the table. She's very excited. STEM happens to be her passion, so she has a lot of really creative ideas, and I think that it just is a very exciting thing for our district.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Dr. Wright. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Wonderful. We welcome Nikki, I guess.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what she goes by.
Okay. Next, we have Jessica Hobie to a special education position. The appointment. Mr. Zilios.
Yep, I have some information. Dr. Wright, if you'd like to fill in any gaps that I might leave here, but we're excited to have Jessica come on board. Please note that our administrative team brought forward the need for a 611 class in our district at the lower grade levels, and we've been working on not only solidifying the plan for the classroom itself, but also the hiring process, and we're excited to be able to move forward. Jessica got her bachelor's initially from Buff State in elementary education, and then eventually her master's in education from Buff State as well. Her certifications include elementary education, grades 1-6, student with disabilities, grades 1-6, students with disabilities, birth to grade 2, and she also is a board certified behavior analyst. She has been teaching for 13 years, for the most part, in early autism programs or behavior support consultant teachers, and is currently a behavior specialist at Erie 2 BOCES. She has been involved in other areas of professional development as a trainer. She presented at the New York State Association for Behavior Analysis Conference a few years ago on 2 separate occasions, which not everybody has the opportunity or the credentials to do. She is also a trainer currently for crisis intervention and de-escalation for both CPI as well as safety care. We are very excited to have her come on board, be part of the Fredonia family, but also be the person to lead this new endeavor and really take her skill set and put it to work helping our students in this new classroom. Anything I missed in there, Dr. Wright, that you wanted to add?
Oh, definitely nothing missed, that's for sure, and certainly I'm great, Mrs. Sparrow, anything that you would like to add. You know, I think one of the greatest skill sets that Jessica brings to us is having worked on starting up a very similar 611 behavior classroom. That's a very unique skill set, and to have the data background, to have the de-escalation background, to be able to work with not just students, but staff, with families, to help them understand how those connections have to carry through outside of the classroom. And she definitely has a whole child approach. And when you're working with any specialized population, you know, to understand where the learning has to come as the behavior is, and that self-regulation becomes more of an ability of the student to do, where you go from a co-regulation to a self-regulation. And so I think to have somebody with this kind of background who specializes in that is going to be able to not just communicate to, you know, the staff she works with, but the families. And that's such a crucial part of this type of a program for success. Anything, Mrs. Sparrow, I don't want to...
I mean, I think you've covered it all, but I guess I will add a few comments. I think, you know, the success of a classroom that has such intense needs is really built on the person that's leading it. And I think we really are extremely fortunate to have Jessica in this position. I know her through her work with Erie 2 BOCES. She's been in our district for a couple of years doing work with us. So I can speak personally to how skilled she is, and I'm really excited to have her on board, so thanks.
I guess I never had a motion or a second, did I?
Correct. You can do that now.
I can do that now. Okay. So we're going to have everybody say everything that they said all over again. But if I could have a motion to bring this to the floor, please. Mr. Hawk, thank you. Great. So I won't ask you to say that over again.
Thank you.
All those in favor of approving that signify by saying aye. All opposed? Great. Welcome, Jessica. Next, we have Heidi Tressler, the appointment as a teacher aide position. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? Ms. Paul Portman, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Hahn. Okay. Any comments on that, Mr. Ziliak?
Yeah, it kind of appears, and you know, every year it's difficult. You have the ebb and flow of people in and out of the district. And, although we always support people moving forward, people moving on, people taking advantage of opportunities that are presented, it's always bittersweet. So this is a situation where Ms. Tressler will be taking the place of Rebecca Heminger, who is here this evening. And again, we want to not only welcome our new staff here tonight, but also recognize people for their hard work and dedication to the district, for time put in and really looking out for our students and always being willing, I think, to be flexible and adjust and adapt to meet the needs of the day or meet the needs of our students.
Those were my exact words. Bittersweet and the ending today. I cried, you can ask Ms. Troutman, there was lots of tears. It started this morning, and I made sure to say goodbye to all the lunches. Some of the kids were shocked, some of the kids knew. An opportunity arose, and as much as I want to stay, I have to leave. So I came to personally thank you all. I know it's not the speaker section, but I came to thank you for every opportunity that you gave me for the past 10 plus years.
I think it says a lot about you being here tonight. I don't know, Ms. Troutman, anything you wanted to add?
Well, I was going to talk about her later. I didn't know she was going to be here, but, I just want to thank, everything that Rebecca did. She not only was involved in everything during the school day, but she was involved in our clubs and was always looking to, help out in any way she could. She makes the best cookies in the entire world, and I'm going to so miss those. But she was someone that our kids looked to, for guidance, and she was involved in the cafeteria every single day, and she's someone that I look to for help and that. So we're going to definitely miss her, but we do welcome Heidi.
And if I screw up, I'll come back.
Any questions?
The only thing I would add, Ms. Heminger, is I had a very sad daughter today.
I know.
Knowing it was your last day, so thank you for all the support that you gave Catherine through her middle school years.
Again, thank you for every opportunity that you gave us, because, I wouldn't be here if it didn't mean that much. I would have just walked out the door, and I had a friend take me out for dinner, and she's like, it's 6 o'clock, and I was like, no, it doesn't start until 6:30. She's like, it starts at 6. Yeah, I get it.
So as far as Heidi is concerned, and Ms. Troutman, you kind of touched on this, before we approve Heidi, does anybody know if she can make cookies?
The recipe's still a secret. Don't worry, while Dean's still here, you're all still good.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to take it on faith, but, okay. Probably not as good, the cookies, but anyway. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Goodbye, all. Thank you so much.
Next, we have the approval of the appointment of Tom Murkowski as a teacher aide. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Paul Fortna and Mr. Marshall. Dr. Ziliak.
Yeah, so, each year brings different challenges that we don't necessarily see coming. This year, the hiring of teacher aides in general, whether classroom aides or teacher aides, has been challenging. This has been a position that has remained open for a period of time. So we're happy to have Tom come in and fill a void that's been there for a period of time. And we welcome him to the district, and are glad to have somebody in the position.
Yes. Yeah. Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Johnson had his hand raised, I just want to make sure he wasn't.
Oh,
You're good?
he probably wants to know if Mr. Murkowski can make cookies. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so next we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Ziliak.
Yeah, a couple different items tonight. I did want to recognize, along with Rebecca, and I think probably Ms. Troutman, will again have some comments during the round robin. But again, you have this, people moving on and people coming into the district throughout any school year. But we have a couple other people, Shannon Ciciati and Sarah Seaholm, who will be moving on in the near future. And just certainly want to recognize them for their hard work and dedication here in our middle school. And I think Paula will follow up a little bit later on both of them more specifically. But I hope they both know we appreciate their contributions, their dedication, their effort to serving our students and our families as well. So, two developments today and recently that I wanted to touch on. Number one, today the governor spent some time chatting with a variety of representatives from the education field. And the bulk of the conversation was really about the mask mandates in schools. And kind of hearing a little bit more about her thoughts, but more so her hearing from a variety of different people, from teachers to administrators to different organizations, such as the School Board Association and the Superintendent Group, and some of the challenges this brings. And she did say that although she's not ready to lift the mask mandates in school, that originally she had hoped that that change might come early in February and still perhaps even after February break, according to the notes from the conversation. Now, as you know, during the President's Day week, we technically don't have a February break or a full week off, although we have that Monday off and then a conference day on a Tuesday this year. But that's interesting to hear her say that and read her comments. She said that right now it's the state's intent to wait and see how circumstances change throughout this month, and including that break week, she was referring to it today in her conversation. She also indicated that her preference would be to do what other states have done and end the mask mandate, but does not want to do so if in fact this is in peril to the health of our students and our faculty and staff. You may have noticed that Connecticut and New Jersey announced Monday that they would end their mask mandates in schools on March 7th, coming up in roughly about a week. So, different states from us, but nearby geographically in the United States, and that's some of the developments that are happening. One of the things that I think all groups impressed upon the governor was that we need time to adjust and adapt. In moments, not necessarily with the current governor, but there's been these announcements on a Friday afternoon that sometimes were effective immediately or sometimes would be effective the following Monday. And everybody asked that if we were moving that direction, whether it was her decision or from the Department of Health or from SED itself, that we have some time to adjust and adapt, that we had time to consider all the implications. We have some time to help our families and students process this information, as well as our faculty and staff, and really be thoughtful about how exactly we move forward. So that seems to be what I'm seeing in the summaries. And right now we're in kind of a wait and see, but I feel like this definitely, the conversation is moving forward. And as we get into late February, early March, I'm starting to feel like there will absolutely be some movement here. And, the conventional wisdom is that there's three possible outcomes. One would be that the mask mandate ends. Another would be that it continues for a period of time, maybe even until the end of the school year. Or the third option would be that it would be left to each school district and each school board to make that determination. So obviously in that third scenario, we would have a lot to consider and a lot to discuss before we would move forward with any decision. I'd like everyone to know that we recognize there are people on both sides of this issue, and there is absolutely in moments some emotion and some definite feelings and opinions about where people stand, and we recognize that that's part of our school community. And I hope that we can come to some type of decision, some type of way moving forward that's going to work for all involved. However, at some point, it's possible that there will be some group that will not be happy where exactly we land, whether that is a parameter provided for us or one that is decided here. But please know we're doing our best to process all the information, take into account the feedback I'm getting through email and direct conversations during basketball games or concerts or just seeing people in the community. And we take this very seriously, and we'll do our best to use the information that we have in the moment to arrive at the best decision that we possibly can, if it ends up in the hands of the district itself. So I don't know any other comments regarding that at this time. I just wanted to have that on the table, update people on the conversation at the state level today, and just have a little glimpse of what might be coming here in the next month or so. Okay. Secondly, and depending on where you are or what school district you are, we may be a little behind where other districts are in a program that is known as Test to Stay. And you'll see that as part of our SMORE update from district office today. And this is a modified quarantine protocol that may allow students and school employees the option to attend school or work when they have otherwise been required to quarantine at home. The TTS protocols allow certain unvaccinated, asymptomatic students or employees to continue school attendance by providing a negative COVID-19 test result during the 5-day quarantine period following an exposure. TTS is authorized by the Chautauqua County Department of Health and the New York State Department of Health as well. We today shared a graphic organizer that hopefully simplifies the information for our families. The first thing that we included is a list of what would make someone eligible or not eligible to participate in the Test to Stay or TTS program. And I'm just going to go through the eligible pieces of this. So it would be no symptoms, unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated, exposed to COVID-19 in the school setting, a person who's been consistently and appropriately wearing a well-fitted mask in the school setting, and also that we have consent from the family, if we're talking about a student, for them to participate. So if people meet those requirements, they would be available to, again, remain in school while being tested over a period of time. A couple other highlights here are the students wishing to participate in after-school activities or sports may do what they call test to play by performing a test each day that they plan to participate in the extracurricular activity. when not attending school or those activities, we encourage the student or the employee to remain quarantined at other times. The idea of wearing a well-fitted mask is becoming more and more critical. One of the things that we notice over time, sometimes a mask stretches out, becomes loose, and we're asking especially parents to help monitor that well-fitted piece of the mask mandate that at least is in place for the time. And if a student or employee either tests positive at any point during those 5 days, or they become symptomatic, they would no longer be part of the TTS protocol and would go into quarantine at that time. So we have received, I think Mr. Ludwig shared with me earlier, that this school has also received a number of at-home tests to support this program. So what we are asking people to do is when they find out that they have been exposed to somebody here at school who tested positive, that they would either, if they're in school, our nurses will test them. If they are negative, they'll be allowed to remain in school. If they are positive, they would be sent home and follow the usual quarantine protocols. We call that day 0. And then if the student is in school, they'd be given 2 at-home tests to take at home on day 2 and then on day 5. And there is a way that we're asking parents to submit those results, to write the student's name and the date on the test itself, take a picture and submit it to an email that we've created just for this purpose. And we're pleased asking them to, in the subject of the email, put their child's name and their grade, so we can easily access those test results as needed. Again, if they were to test positive, either on day 2 or day 5, they would go into the quarantine protocol. If they're negative at the end of day 5 and do not have any symptoms, they would no longer be in TTS and would just be attending school. So the part around parent consent is very important to this. We can't just test a student in school or allow a student to remain in school without the test. So we're going through our family ID system for the consent, similar to that we do for a lot of our sports consent forms. And you can see it up on the screen behind me. Parents would just need to log in. There's a lot of information about the program, pretty much that I just described, making them aware of the situation, the protocols and requirements, and then they could register their son or daughter to be eligible. One of the things that we want families to know, and this was part of the delay in our processing, is that during those 5 days, if a student is not wearing a mask, they need to be 6 feet apart from other people. So that brings up a few different scenarios. During a mask break, we need to make sure they're 6 feet apart. In the morning, some of our students eat breakfast in the classroom. We would have to make sure they're 6 feet apart. If they're in the lunchroom, cafeteria, or eating somewhere else in the building, they would need to be 6 feet. And also there's times, especially at our younger grades, during snack, which is in the classroom, that they would need to be 6 feet as well. At Wheelock, this brings up the rest or nap time, when students are unmasked as well. So all of those things are in play. Our admin team has done a great job preparing for this, but that did cause us to pause temporarily and make sure that we were going to be in a good place and make sure that we can manage the program as it's outlined again by Chautauqua County. So that is effective starting tomorrow. again, for students and families, everything would start. One of the first question we'll ask is, do we have consent for the student to participate? And if we do not, then nothing else would happen. Second question we would ask is, are they eligible? And we would go back to that graphic organizer with those few things that outlined how someone is eligible for the program. So we appreciate the state providing the test to us. I think we have a decent stockpile right now to continue and sustain the program over the foreseeable future. We also, and all these tests have a expiration date. So some of the tests, as we approach an expiration, we will also distribute to our families when possible, if possible. So we don't end up with tests here that weren't used or expired sitting in a box somewhere. So that's a little bit about Test to Stay. You can reach out to the district office, our administrators, and probably first and foremost, any of our school nurses who have information and have been in this conversation over the last couple weeks that we prepared for tomorrow. So we appreciate those who decide to participate, but we also stress that it is optional and no one is required or should feel pressure in any way to participate. The question probably for a family would be, would I rather have them in school with these requirements, or would I like them to be home and not follow through on any of those? So we understand there's a lot of different perceptions and viewpoints on this, and certainly we look at it as an option for our families.
Dr. Ziliak?
Yep.
So a couple of things, again, like the trigger points are, is that the contact has to be from school. So that contact tracing, if we know that a student has tested positive, we're still getting our notifications that the school is somehow managing and contacting who might have been exposed in the school setting. So that contact tracing is happening.
Yes, and noted, and really at this point, with the masking and the distancing that we've been able to create across the board, for right now, that really, for the most part, unless there's an unusual circumstance, comes down to lunch, where students are unmasked and maybe closer than the distance required, and also on the buses, because of the amount of time that they might have been near another student. So in terms of our classrooms, for the most part, although every once in a while there might be a unique scenario, a student should not be exposed in the classroom.
And then if there's an exposure that happens outside of the school for one of our students, are we still having any communication that we're aware of that? And is that coming through the county health department still, or?
So that right now is happening less than it has in the past. It's a little bit dependent on their workload and also in moments the person who is in charge of that case. But I feel like that's less part of what the county is doing now than it has been throughout this process. So, but I do say our families have been great about reaching out to our nurses, and I feel like we are still getting a steady flow of information about things that are happening outside the district, although they might not be coming through the county as they had prior. So we do appreciate our families reaching out and sharing information with us.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So,
can I just say one more thing? Our video this week was by Erin Schratz, and I appreciate her being willing to get in the mix and take a couple minutes out of her day to record a message for us. It's great to have students involved.
it is wonderful to have students involved in that. Yes. So the board is reserved this time to hear comments from the audience on any item. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual. Audience members seeking your response should carry the board correspondence sheet and return it to our district clerk. Anybody like to address the board?
Dr. Ziliak, I want to thank you for the thorough explanation. I think you're doing a great job. I don't know why I couldn't have gotten that kind of an explanation last year, but I don't think you had taken the position yet. So I appreciate it. You're doing a great job. I appreciate that you admit that you need coaching. I think there's people out there that think this admin team needs coaching. Yeah, we all need coaching. You guys gave a fantastic justification of why professional development is necessary. So just a couple of thoughts I have. These are high-paid administrators. They get raises every year. I'd like to think those raises were because they got better. And I'm kind of old school. I mean, as a teacher, you talk to a principal, he said, you're lacking these skills, go out and get them, take some grad classes, or we're going to let you go at the end of your tenure time. As an administrator, you need these skills, you need to get them, we're going to let you go. If I need skills, I go out and get them. If I need information, if I need training, I go out and get it. And maybe calling it coaching, I don't know, as an administrator, in my mind, it's kind of like an insult. Like I'm not doing such a good job and need some coaching. Maybe rename it as administrative professional development or something like that. Has a little better sound, has a little better sound to the public. I'd also wonder is where does the eval come in? Because as I said, kind of old school, superintendent evaluated me and said you need to improve in these areas. I could maybe ask for specific professional development, and I sure hope that your administrative team gets to have some input on what kinds of things the University of Rochester works on with them. But you know, I could ask for professional development. It was kind of like, you just get it yourself, or we're going to let you go. And I'm looking to a superintendent, as a new administrator, I'm looking to a superintendent to provide me that coaching. So just a different thought on whether the taxpayers should pay for this kind of professional development, or if the professional should pay for it like they paid for their degrees. And you know, it was never mentioned whether or not the trainings took place during school hours or if it was after hours and extra work. But I think you're doing a great job, so I appreciate that. What about those wrestling mats? You guys still holding on to those? And the other piece of it, fantastic to see Rebecca Hemminger here tonight. Wasn't thrilled about coming. Kind of happy I got to see her. Send her off. Worked with her for a long time. Great gal.
Great, thank you. So the next regular Board of Education meeting will be February 22nd, 6 o'clock, right here in the high school library. Other than that, I will say that our facilities committee had a walkthrough yesterday, and the interesting thing that I thought was we saw a lot of what had gone on with the facilities and capital projects, but also through Mr. Hawk's Hawkeye, I guess we were commenting on. He's able to see a lot of things with the facilities, but besides that, I thought that was very beneficial to just walk through as a board member and see what's going on in the school as far as you know, some of the personalization that teachers are putting in, you know, outside their classrooms, and that was a very big benefit. And I don't want to say that the board is managing this district. That's you. We're kind of overseeing you, but it reminds me of some larger businesses where it's called management by walking around. And the more you walk around, the more you see things that are going on. And that was a benefit for me. So I have to do that more often. Mr. Hawk, do you have anything to add?
I was afraid you were going to take my thunder.
Yeah.
I walked through last night. because it was just exciting to see how many of the gyms were active with some coaching, and I think there was a game in the one, and then, we were just leaving the auditorium as the musical kids were coming in, the high school musical, so after hours, the school is very busy, and it's an important place to keep up.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So good walk.
Ms. Paulina?
Nothing to add, just to reiterate, when I walked in, I told Mr. Bennett, this is one of my favorite meetings of the year. We get a performance, we get entertained, we get to hear great statistics and the impact that we're having on students, so I always appreciate tonight, and being able to hear and celebrate that.
Yeah. Agreed. Mr. Marshall?
Much the same, to echo what you two gentlemen have said. The walking through the building was a good thing. It was great to see the activity, to see so many different parts of the building in great shape, clean and nice looking. And then additionally, just a shout out to all of the music instructors along the way. If there's any doubt ever that music doesn't help kids learn, just ask them what the phone number for Celino and Barnes is, and they will have no problem humming that song and telling you every number.
It's an easy one to remember.
My kids couldn't quite get 911, but they had Celino and Barnes. So music is important.
Yeah. Ms. Hahn?
I just wanted to say, I hope Mr. Johnston is feeling better. We miss you. And to congratulate the girls varsity basketball team on their win last night. And that's about it. Thank you.
Now, is Mr. Johnson, can
Yeah.
you get audio from him?
Yep, I have now turned the audio up so we can
Okay.
hear him. You're ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
What?
Well, this is day 13 of my home confinement. And I have to truly say that thank you for allowing me to zoom in, because this has been the highlight of my 13 days.
That's kind of sad.
It is.
Well, hope you're feeling
No,
better.
thank you. I'm sorry I missed Mr. Bennett's musical performance. I'm really sorry I missed the tour. I really would have loved to see the tour.
Yeah.
But, thank you again for allowing me to zoom in. And hopefully, I can make the next meeting.
Good. We look forward to you. On crutches? Yeah.
No
Okay.
questions.
Nope. Crutches.
He asked if you would be on crutches.
Will you be on crutches?
Oh, I thought you said no questions. I'll be on a walker.
Okay.
For another 3 weeks.
Okay.
So, it was a pretty gruesome injury. My advice is hold the railing when you go downstairs. It's there for a reason.
Okay. I'll remember that. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Wright, we're going to start with you tonight.
All right then. First, I just want to say to everybody, the test to stay discussions, the ongoing changing guidances, and certainly Dr. Ziliak's leadership, the work of Ms. Slagle, and then all of our administrators, our nurses, the open discussions, the ability to say, have we thought of this, have we thought of that? And what the public doesn't often understand is that, some of these things come down, they'll say 6 feet, 3 feet, 6 feet, 3 feet. We can't magically make 6 and 3 feet suddenly happen because they've gotten a new protocol for us. We've measured rooms specifically based on reopening guidelines, and there's all of those factors that are mixed in that, as new continual things change, we're trying to adapt and answer questions, and then just when we get ready to roll something out, yet something new happens. So, there's just been a lot of very thoughtful planning going into this, and I just want, kudos and shout out. I'm so proud to be part of this team. I'm excited to go on Thursday to the Western New York Association of School Personnel Administrators winter meeting. They're going to be having a bunch of area colleges there. The focus is on teacher preparation programs, how that works with HR, Office of Certification questions, what is it schools need, what are the deficits, what are we hoping for, what are the burdens that can be alleviated by together partnering to petition the Office of Certification. Like I said earlier, to have the position of the elementary computer teacher, you had to have 2 certifications. You had to have birth through grade 2 plus 1 through 6. So that overlap is so crucial. Otherwise, you can't teach kindergarten. So I think Mrs. Piper would like to have teachers that can teach kindergarten. So it's a kind of a neat partnership because the Office of Certification drives teacher preparation programs because they have to prepare them to match the certifications, but yet they want to know from schools what's going on. So it's going to be a really interesting thing. I'm excited to kind of hear and bring that back and talk about our needs as a district. I've been having some great meetings ongoing with principals to talk about our ed tech and BOCES and what we have currently, where we want to go with it, having it match our vision statement of innovative pathways, and making sure that we are dovetailing to support our curriculum with thoughtful purchases and thoughtful education. And then I wanted to acknowledge and thank Mr. Bennett and his, all the music teachers that were here tonight, the students certainly for what they do. It's just so wonderful and it's so exciting. The Valentine cards they talked about that they're doing as a fundraiser are beautiful. Mine were delivered today, so I'm very excited to be able to kind of send those out. And acknowledgement of the personnel who are leaving, and thanks for their service and the excitement of the personnel coming on. It's very exciting. And Mr. Johnson, we just wish you the very best in your healing journey.
Thank you. Ms. Troutman, you're up next.
I'm up next, all
Yeah.
right.
What's going on in middle school?
What's going on? Well, this is National Counseling Week, and so across the district we are celebrating our counselors. Every day we're having announcements, really bringing the work that they do to the forefront because they are so valuable for us. So we're thanking all of them. You spoke about Shannon Ciciati. She is a special ed teacher at the middle school who will be leaving us at the end of the school year. That's important to know. She and her husband will be relocating to Tennessee. It's something they've wanted to do for quite a while, and things were just right for them. And so we are absolutely heartbroken. Shannon is an absolutely amazing teacher. She is so dedicated to her students, and it is going to be very difficult to fill that position with her going. Sarah Seaholm is our clerk at the middle school. She has been the glue that has kept us together the last few years when we couldn't find a secretary. She was doing both jobs, and with a smile on her face and the kindness that she uses every day with everyone. She is going to her hometown high school. She's going back there, closer to her home. She's going to be a counseling secretary, and I'm very happy for her, but I'm very sad for us because she's really done a really great job for us over the last few years. So thank Margie for starting to work on trying to find us someone to fill that void, because it definitely will be. Andy talked about our all band and all strings and all chorus concerts that are coming up. We're really excited about those. The kids have been working really hard and they're excited about that. So welcome. It was great to see Steve, there. I, heard about all, the calamities of it all, and I'm glad that he's doing well, and it's nice to see his smiling face up there. So that's it for us.
Great, thank you. Ms. Farrell.
Hi there. I would echo what Paul just mentioned about Shannon Ciciati. She's a vital teacher in my department. I'm really happy for her to be moving on to something that she wants to do, but she'll be a big loss for us at the end of the year. So, and thanks again to the board for the support that you've shown as we've grown our programming this year to really meet some unique needs. So that's really important stuff. And just a couple of little newsy items I got from teachers. Mrs. Padua, who's a special education co-teacher in kindergarten over at Amy's building, told me that recently the very talented Mr. Albert Ramirez and his son Alex, who's also an aide in that classroom, demonstrated for the kindergarten kids how to, some Taekwondo moves, and they help students and their teachers try out some of those pretty cool moves. Adriana sent me some pictures, which were very interesting. And Mrs. Beach in our grades 1 and 2, 1211 classroom also sent me some pictures, and with a project she's doing with her class called Compliment Jars. So they began the month of February with the theme of kindness, and they created heart-shaped handwritten notes. They were positive and complimentary to their classmates and adults, and they are filling each other's jars with those. And Mrs. Beach also was happy to report that all the students in her class showed growth and progress through as measured by the iReady diagnostic mid-year checkpoint in early literacy and math skills. So some good stuff happening there. Continuing on the Valentine's Day theme, Mrs. Mangus, who's one of our elementary speech therapists, shared with me that she has some small language groups that they've worked with a Valentine inferencing and listening for details game. So they matched a Valentine in a mailbox with a correct person at the table by using their listening and inferencing skills. And her articulation groups she also sent some pictures, some really cool art projects where they painted dots, and the dots each represented a count of how many correct target sounds they were able to produce. So some really cool things going on. So students are learning and exploring and incorporating a lot of different skills into activities. And a lot of those activities, when I look at the core beliefs, are definitely supportive of things like respect and communication and excellence. So that's it.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Ms. Piper.
Well, we had our day of play last Wednesday, which was a great success, the global day of play. So kids around the world spent the day playing, including those kids at Wheelock, and they all spent some time outside, and there was a snowman. They melted a little when we came back, but had great fun that day. Kids brought in their favorite games from home, and they spent the day being kids and playing, and it was a great day. We are finishing up I am finishing up the Fast Bridge early literacy assessments for the kindergarten kids, and I'm seeing much of what has been noted, that all of the kids are making growth, and we're super excited to see all that they've learned since the beginning of the year. A shout out to Judith Prisabella that works in our building as a school counselor. For School Counselor Week, she comes down to Wheelock once a week, and Wednesday's her day, so we're always super excited about Wednesdays because Judith will be in the building, and the kids are always excited to see her. I do want to put a shout out to the Wheelock teachers. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the teachers and the aides at Wheelock go outside with their children every single day. And not just outside once. They're outside in the mornings, getting the kids off the buses and from the parents' cars. They take the kids outside for recess, unless it's like minus something, but even today they were all outside, bundled up, went outside for recess, taking the kids outside, and then they're outside again at the end of the day, putting the kids on the bus. Every single adult, myself included, are outside every day despite the elements, and they're always happy about it. You don't hear a grumble, they're smiling, they're cheerful, the noise is wonderful, so the climate continues to be wonderful at Wheelock, and it is because of the people that are there, so it's a great place.
That's wonderful, thank you. Mr. Forbes.
Nothing today.
You looking forward to the audit committee meeting next week?
I always look forward to the audit committee meetings.
Well, you didn't say anything, so I thought I'd ask. Okay, all right. Ms. Slagle.
I just wanted to mention to the board that Sophie, our student intern from SUNY Fredonia, our PR intern, she started a couple weeks ago, and she's been doing a great job. She's actually in our office 3 days a week, which is great to have her there. She wants to physically be there, wants to be able to collaborate, so that's wonderful. She does do some work at home as well, but the s'more that you saw today, she continues to work on that with us, so she's got her hand on that. She's already started to attend some classroom activities and interview some teachers and counselors, and so we're working on some features that you'll see soon. So it's been a great addition, and she's doing a great job.
Great, thank you.
Just a couple things real quick. You probably noticed Mr. Paschke made an exit. He went down for the boys basketball senior night, and most of us were present for the girls senior night last night. And Mr. Drollinger sends his apology. He had a little child care issue at the last minute, but wanted people to know, as Ms. Farrell mentioned, the elementary school is finishing up their mid-year assessments. He also was pleased with the results. They're beginning to process the data and think about what this means for our instruction moving forward. He mentioned he will share some of that information at some point in a round robin soon. He'd also like to thank the maintenance and grounds crew for keeping the sidewalks clean before and after school, especially for the younger students who oftentimes walk quite a distance to get to their bus. So thank you to all of them, and they've been fantastic with the snow removal this winter, which has been a lot more work than I think the last several winters. So Mark also wanted to say thank you to the board just for continuing to support the school and moving forward and staying positive and meeting the challenges that are presented this school year. That we had hoped would be been wrapped up by now, but here we are, and he thanks everybody for the work and the effort and the dedication to the district as a whole. So,
great.
Thank you from him.
Okay, so being no further business, if I could get a motion to adjourn. May 2nd. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.